afternoon, and welcome to the Iron County Fair Ag Barn interviews. This is McKennan Hansen, your host, and in the barn today we have Dusty Reese from Kane County. She is the Utah Farm Bureau president for the Kane County chapter. Dusty, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we've been friends for a few years now, and one thing that I absolutely love watching you do is, and it's really inspiring too, because somehow you are the Federation president in in Kane County. I'm gonna mess that up every time. It's okay.
Yeah, there's other counties in the state beside Iron.
Yeah, you just saying, But it's really inspiring to watch you go through, community life with the Federation, family life, and also business owner life. Because in some degree, I feel like all ag productions are businesses.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring to watch you because it seems like you do this flawlessly. How do you do it?
Oh, it's not flawless. It's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of anxiety attacks. And there's many, somebody asked me the same question, like, how do you do it? It's like, I have a mental breakdown about once a week.
Okay.
Yeah, so
just once a week, though.
On the regular. There's times where it's much more frequently, but regularly about once a week a mental breakdown. But I wouldn't choose anything differently. The struggle always comes in finding that balance. How do I give to the community? How do I build my business? And how do I take care of my family? And sometimes those mental breakdowns come in the struggle and misbalance and trying to figure out which piece you need to take care of that day.
So I feel like this is a bunch of spinning plates, and you try to keep them up, and then some fall, and we just got to pick up the pieces, right?
Yeah, I had one lady tell me, reading up on things and trying to do, always answer the questions, how can I possibly accomplish everything I need to in this day, in this week? And she put forth the idea of you're always juggling. Every day you're juggling. Some of the balls that you're juggling are glass, and some of them are plastic. And you juggle all those balls knowing that sometimes things are going to fall. And so you need to just figure out what your glass balls are and make sure you're keeping those in the air and know that if a plastic one falls, it's fine. Life will go on. But focus on your glass balls, keeping your glass balls in the air.
I think that with that, remembering that they are glass versus plastic, right? To me, my glass balls would be making sure my family, slept, ate, and were sheltered. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's as basic as that.
Well, and it's being able to show up to the events that are important to them too. Like, I need to be to my daughter's dance recital, so I might have to fix that fence later. We didn't get the hay up in time because we had to focus on this thing for the family. Or sometimes the hay is the glass ball. Like, look, we've got to get this crop up or the business suffers. But yeah, I try and keep each kid and my spouse, like, what is their glass ball? What is the one thing that I need to show up for them today? And then recognize there are things that honey, I just can't make it to that game. I can't make it to this thing. But being open and having that communication with your kids and treating them as important members of the business, of the farm, and of the family, that you can talk together and say, hey, look, okay, we usually sit down Sunday evenings and I get my calendar out and I map out, okay, this is what everybody has this week. This is what I have this week. And then I keep it open on the counter, and then the kids are always like, oh, is this week? Yeah, this is this week. And so they're like, oh, okay. And then they recognize how busy we are, and sometimes they help out a little bit more. Sometimes they're like, oh, okay, I can see you've got this important meeting you got to go to. I have practice. I'll try and find a ride to and from practice. But communication is key.
Well, and it goes to say that, each family is its mini corporation. Mm-hmm. There's always moving parts. People have different tasks and different roles and different needs and wants, and, how how employees get valued or how kids get valued versus how you get valued, and the different things, because, you know, in all, we want to show up and be loved almost, right? But how I'm giving love versus how I'm receiving love are very different languages.
Very much.
Right? And for kids, I mean, granted, I have a 3 and a 6-year-old, right, at this time. But, I mean, my 3-year-old has very different needs than my 6-year-old, right? Yeah. And you have a few more children, and they are all at different ages as well, and they give and receive love very differently as well.
Yeah.
I know that it's been a long week or a long day when both my oldest is a girl, when both of us are just screaming at each other at 5 at night. Both of us are tired, probably hungry. You know, we really just want to be loved and cuddled. But some of those days and some of those activities are just hard. And without this struggle, we wouldn't understand, you know, the benefits of those different experiences. But, you know, and you're a woman in production, and you run a couple of different businesses from your household, right?
Yes.
And so between them, you're also seeing how the family operates, how the hay production does, how the beef production does, and then you also sell cut wrapped meat, correct?
Yep.
And so you're trying to organize all of these, you know, hats per se, but what's really critical, I feel like, to society right now is that women are capable of doing that.
Yes. And it's been, so the beef business has kind of become my business. And so I'm in charge of, my husband feeds. He's great at feeding and he's great at putting weight on cattle, but when it comes to setting dates for processing, doing all of the advertising, and you know, finding all the sales and taking care of the customers, that's been primarily my job. And so it's been different for me. And it is fun at the end of the day. It's like, I did this all by myself. Okay, my son helps, but I did this all by myself. And I just encourage women to recognize your power and your strength. Sometimes it's too easy for us to take the back seat and just say, oh, I just help. And we even diminish our worth and our importance in our family and in our businesses. And so I just want to encourage women that, no, you are capable of amazing things. And yeah, it's scary, and yeah, it's stressful, but you can do hard things. And if you organize your time, like you are capable of amazing things. But what's most important is that you figure out where your priorities are. And I try to never let our service, competition, our businesses take place of my family. Like at the end of the day, my husband and my kids need to be the most important. Right. Now, and I can build a business and still do that. And that's just finding the balance. And so that's why it's great to incorporate your family in your business. And so like when we go up to make beef deliveries now, I'm like, son, I need you to come with me. I have a 14-year-old son. He's bigger than I am, and he's getting strong. And he is actually, I love having him because he can do things that I can't, or it's harder for me. And so I could say, come on, boy, we're going to go haul meat. When we go to drop the beef off for processing, my daughter likes to come with me. So not only do we have all that time driving together to have just one-on-one conversations, but we can talk about how the business works. And it's great to have those kind of conversations with your kids, that they're aware of some of the struggles, some of the problems. You can propose questions to them, and then in their minds, they're thinking about the business and they're aware of what's going on. And so that will help when you're ready to hand over the reins to them, that they've been involved in this for 10 years. So, say my son, he goes on a mission, he goes to college, he gets married, and he wants to come home and work on the ranch. Well, he won't have 1 year of experience under his belt. He'll have 10 years of experience because he's been an active part in the business.
Well, and it's really critical, too, you mentioned involving your kids, not only in the family work week, right? But in the business work week. Because in that, it really goes to show that everything is multifaceted, because women are capable of doing really big, bad things. Big in, not bad necessarily as a negative, but really incredible things when we put our minds to it. Not only do we get to raise families, we are, as females, we have that great power of creating children, and our bodies don't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
Right? And when we go through those different processes of parenthood, it's really critical that we involve them in these different choice and decision models, because my 6-year-old can critically think past, okay, why am I throwing a fit? I'm really just tired and hungry. Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have a string cheese? Absolutely, baby girl.
Yeah.
Right? But if you don't expose them to those thoughts or to those actions, or holding them accountable for their actions, they don't necessarily understand what's actually happening.
Yeah.
You're creating common sense through involving your children in the different aspects, of your operation. What's really interesting as well, because we are involving them at such a young age, per se, that how much further are we putting them ahead in the world, because we're asking them really hard questions, but they have multiple answers to everything.
So I love the lessons that we learn on the ranch. Some of it comes for awkward questions from children, especially when you're in AI season. And, your son brings a question about reproduction. They're like, I'm not ready to describe that to you yet. You're only 8. But
right.
Then when your 14-year-old asks you, you have to oh, okay. So it forces conversations. It also, one thing I love about our culture in agriculture is that you really do learn life lessons that people in urban areas, I don't think, have a chance to experience. We experience death and loss. 2 weeks ago, we lost a horse on our place, and it was he kind of become my son's horse. And we lose cows and stuff, but this was hard, because this was a companion. This was his rope horse. He taught him how to head, and so watching him go through the grief process and loss, and just say, this is just part of life. You learn that life is unfair. There's times you can do everything right, in range management, in making sure that you rotationally graze and take care of the range, but it doesn't matter what you do right if it never rains.
Or if a wildfire comes through.
Yes, or if you have a wildfire. You can do everything right and still lose, and that's okay. And that is okay. Let's figure out how to solve this problem and move forward, instead of just sit down and collapse. They learn how life works. They learn the importance of hard work, that there are jobs on the farm and in the house that nobody wants to do. But if you don't do them, there are consequences. And a lot of times those consequences happen to others. And so those are some lessons that I really love in teaching my kids, and going through all of this hard work, is watching the young people that they are becoming.
Through that, it's also crucial that, because of the way the world is now, right? There's 2% of us, not us, meaning I'm a producer, but there's 2% of producers that feed 98% of America. Mm-hmm. We're missing out on those different opportunities, not necessarily out of requirement, but they're not getting those opportunities to get educated. They're not going out into the farms. In the state of Utah, and even over in Kane County, you have more ag lands or ag utilized land than you do urban city area.
Yeah.
Right? So our communities are exposed to these things, and they're just not necessarily brushing them aside, but they're not getting involved.
Yeah.
But with the Federation and you being the Kane County president, how do you feel that Kane County is responding to that? Or is there something Kane County could do to step up and make sure ag is more highlighted?
So we, let's see, so I got started in the Federation about 15 years ago and started in the Young Farmers and Ranchers program. And then when I aged out of that, because they kick you out, and it's fair, it needs to happen. But then I went onto the Women's Committee and got exposed to more of the education side and decided to start my own farm field day. And so I bring preschool through third graders out to the ranch. And during that 3 years, we have like a cattle emphasis, we'll have a sheep emphasis, and then we'll have a crop emphasis. And I think it's done a whole bunch to open up people's eyes, the kids' eyes in particular, like, this is where your milk comes from. I'll bring in a milk cow. Goats and sheep can give milk. Wool is not bad. Beef is not bad. Like, look, these are our cows. You will eat them. And when I bring in the kindergartners, we always talk about each animal and talk about what they're used for. So a cow, we have byproducts. We use leather. We use them for milk. And most importantly, what do? We eat them. And if you make it a positive thing, we have chickens. What do we use chickens for? They lay eggs and we eat them.
Right.
What was his name? Trent Luce was his name. He came and spoke to us one time. And the statement he told us at our conference that was profound to me is, purpose in life gives meaning to death. And so by being able to teach people, yes, his whole purpose, this cow's whole purpose is to provide meat for us.
Right.
And I am going to give them the best life possible until they can return the favor to support and give me the best life possible.
Right.
And so that's really been an effort that we've been making in Kane County to connect people to their food source. And that agriculture is actually happening in Kane County. It is becoming more and more diverse. The USU Extension has started a farmers market in our community, and so we're getting a lot more local production, which has been fun to be able to sit and talk to people. It's like, oh, I didn't even know I could get this here.
Right.
We've also been doing more to try and give back. Like last weekend we did a dance for free. We're doing more sponsorships and trying to be just more involved, because where we are such a small percentage of the population, people can overlook us really easily.
Right.
And so I think every group needs to be doing more to advertise their impact. You don't need to flaunt your importance, but just say, hey, I am here and this is what I contribute to our community.
Right.
And there's been a lot of people like, oh, that is so cool. I had no idea.
Dusty, it goes to show that the more involved, the more community oriented you are, the more kind of village mentality that we have or should have as a community of agriculture and, grassroots organization, the more involved you are, the more traction you get, the better relationships you build. At the core of it, we teach our young kids to go out into the world and create a bigger and better impact. I appreciate you driving all the way down from Kane County over to our little old Parowan, Iron County Fair today, because it means a lot that you have the ability to show up, and you do. And it means a lot that you go and do what you do every time, because I'm not a producer. I wish I was to some degree, but then I wouldn't have all the other things that we do. That plate would,
Yep.
anyways. But it's really impactful to talk about it, because humans are capable of doing more than just one thing. We're supposed to be doing a variety of things, and we're supposed to be doing things that impact more than just ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And on that note, though, a lot of times, one thing I've been struggling with is the pressure of what being a woman and being a woman in agriculture should look like. And I would also want to encourage people to find what works for you. So like this week, my husband's gone, and so I am a single parent and single farmer while he's on a fire. And so what does my house look like? It's a mess.
It's a plastic ball.
It's a plastic ball because I've had to go take care of some cows and get hay up before the rain. But then I look at home and I'm like, but my house should be clean. Like if I'm being a good wife and mother, my house would be clean and I would have still prepared meals for my kids instead of just buying, freezer meals and hamburgers because that's all I had the bandwidth for. So whatever you're doing, I encourage people to give yourself grace, though, to understand that no matter how hard we work, no matter how much we try and accomplish, there's still only 24 hours a day. And I'm high maintenance. I need 8 hours of sleep to function.
Me too.
It's
I'm
like
there.
I can do 6, but that still only leaves that many hours in a day.
Yes.
And so there are things that you have to just let go to keep your sanity and just recognize this is not super important. Did my kids get fed? Yes. Is it healthy to eat McDonald's 6 days a week? Probably not. But it was only 2.
Hey, all in time. Thank you so much, Dusty, for joining us. And really, it goes to show, putting it out there and getting it really focused and making sure you're focusing on those glass balls versus the plastic and giving yourself grace is a huge instrument in making sure that we're productive community members
Yep.
and mothers. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Dusty. I appreciate
Thank you,
you.
McKennan.